Hello and welcome back to The Vegan Runner, and welcome to episode 5 of my 80-20 half marathon training series. In this video I'm going to run through weeks 5 to 8 of the plan. We'll take a look at the sessions in detail and the training effect that they are supposed to achieve. Just a heads up, it's going really well and I'm enjoying the plan a lot so far, but I do need your help making a decision later in the video. Now, if you're following the half marathon plan and you're about to start one of these weeks, I've chaptered each week in each part of the video so you can skip to the sections that are relevant to you, and you can use this video to give yourself a kind of heads up on the things to expect over the coming weeks and over the week of the training block. I'm sticking really closely to the plan. I haven't altered any of the sessions in any way, so what you see here is what you can expect if you buy the half marathon plan from 8020endurance.com. I'm not affiliated in any way to the authors of 80-20. It's recommended to me by members of my running club, the Vegan Runners. So my thoughts and my opinions on 80-20 are my own. I have no connection to the authors at all. If you're not using the 80-20 method to train, but you're interested in finding out more, feel free to check out my 80-20 playlist where you'll find my videos that will walk you through the process and get you started. You can also buy the 80-20 book. Of course, it's brilliant. It's got loads of information in there and will give you a bit more of the reasoning behind why you should be training using the 80-20 method. Right, let's get into it. Week 5, 39.73 miles, 5 hours and 42 minutes on my feet, and 3,963 feet of elevation. Mondays are always rest days and the only rest day of the week. I try not to run or cross-train or pretty much do anything on this day. 24 hours to keep the body rested and let the training sink in. I might do a little bit of walking, that kind of thing, but generally a foam roll, bit of stretching, but no running, no cross-training, just keeping it nice and easy. So the first run of the week was a tempo run on Tuesday. In total, 49 minutes of running split into a 10-minute zone 1 and 2 warm-up. Then 2 sets of 12 minutes at tempo pace, or zone 3 roughly, with 5 minutes rest between each 12-minute effort. I really enjoyed this workout. 12 minutes of hard but sustainable running. I felt strong and once again enjoyed a new workout structure. I'm finding that the variety within the 80-20 program is really helping me to stay motivated and enjoy the plan. It keeps you on your toes. If it's a completely new run, sometimes you don't quite know what to expect or how your body will react, and I find that quite exciting. Some workouts repeat themselves a little bit, but as the plan progresses they're tweaked, so it's rare that the speed sessions are ever the same. And what's great about that is that it's keeping these difficult workouts really fresh, but it does mean you're going to want to spend a little bit of time before the workout getting your head around how it's structured and what kind of effort you should be aiming for. Fortunately, that's all really well explained in the plan via the Training Peaks website. I really like how each speed session has a little explanation on how to go about the session, and even more importantly, why that session is good for you to do and what effect it's going to have on your body. Wednesday and Thursday were both 40-minute foundation runs. Foundation is the name given to recovery runs in the 80-20 program. 5 minutes of zone 1, then 35 minutes of zone 2. Nice and easy, gentle running, keeps the legs as well as your head feeling nice and fresh. Something worth mentioning here is that the recovery runs vary in duration from week to week, and then later in the training block from day to day too. So if it's a recovery week, which is every third week in the 80-20 plan, then you can expect shorter recovery runs than a typical training week, but they all get progressively longer as you go through the training block. Generally they're around about 40 minutes long, but by the end of the block some of them are up to an hour long. And I tend to skip over talking about the recovery runs too much because, you know, they're not the most exciting or sexiest part of running, but they're so important, and they're probably the most important part of the 80-20 program. If you want to run further, you want to run faster, you've got to put mental energy into running slow. As I say, it's not sexy, it's not exciting, but it's absolutely worth it. I'm noticing my weekly mileage creeping up when, compared to my old training plan, I would be doing a lot less miles per week, but I'm able to run more, which is great. I absolutely love that. And I don't feel really battered either. My legs aren't really tired, and most importantly, I've been able to stay injury-free so far. Okay, so Friday's session was an interesting one, this time something called descending intervals. Now the basic idea being to run at the same fast pace for all 7 of the intervals, and the target pace is something called maximal aerobic speed, which is a pace that you could sustain for about 6 minutes, so pretty much flat out. The first interval was 3 minutes long with 2 minutes rest. The second was 2 minutes long with 1:20 rest. Then the next was 45 seconds long with 30 seconds rest. Then I think a 30-second effort with a 20-second rest, and then back to 45 seconds, and then 30 seconds, and so on and so forth, a bit like that, before having a 10-minute cool down. Now, descending intervals were developed by scientists at the University of Udine in Italy, and are proven to increase the amount of time you're able to spend above 90% of your VO2 max. It was a really tough workout, and judging the pace for that first 3-minute block was really tricky. Maximal aerobic speed, or MAS, comes a bit later in the workouts as well, so I chalked this one up to experience, so I know where to pitch that effort next time. It was a really great workout though. I pushed it really hard, and you know, in the short space of time that you're running, you feel like you're making the absolute most of that time. Saturday was another 40-minute recovery run. I've been really enjoying using my Saturday recovery run for a non-park run, and then Sunday's run was a 90-minute endurance run, basically your Sunday long run, a 5-minute warm-up, then 85 minutes in zone 2. And I've been enjoying trying out different nutrition on these runs as well, so I've been trying out different things, seeing what works with my body. And I've recently released another video where I try out 3 plant-based options, so you can check it out here. I ended up doing just over 11 miles of hilly modern lanes. I'm really loving the long runs in the 80-20 plan, and what I'm noticing is that I'm getting that little bit better at staying in zone 2, that little bit better at judging my effort level based on the hill that's in front of me, so I'm able to consistently stay in zone 2, and for the most part, running these long runs just feels effortless. Breathing is easy, the body is relaxed, and you're just cruising along. Absolutely love it. Week 6, 36.69 miles, 5 hours and 9 minutes on my feet, and 3,340 feet of elevation. Tuesday's workout was an absolute killer. I loved it. It was called a progression run, and it's split into 3 main parts. First up, 12 minutes at this steady state pace, which is a pace that you could stay in for about 2 hours, and is at the low end of zone 3. The next section is 6 minutes long and is at lactate threshold pace, which is a pace that you could sustain for about an hour, and that falls at the high end of zone 3. And then the final 3 minutes is at a pace called critical velocity, which is a pace that you could sustain for about 30 minutes. The idea of this workout is to teach the body to run on tired legs, and I can testify to that. That's exactly what it did. By the middle section, the legs were just starting to feel that strain, and then knowing that you've got to push it yet again and kick it up a gear was really tough. It reminded me of those sort of later stages of a race where you've been working hard, but you know you have to dig deep and find something else to get across the line and finish well. It's a great workout, but a really tough session. Wednesday and Thursday's runs were both 35-minute recovery runs. This is a recovery week, so the duration of these runs is shortened slightly. Typically, I'm finding the second recovery run easier than the first, which I think is how it's supposed to go. After a hard session on the Tuesday, Wednesday's legs feel pretty tired. By Thursday, they're ready to go again, and then Friday, which was an intervals run, the legs feel fully ready and recovered. This speed session had me running for 45 seconds in zone 5, so pretty much flat out, and then rest for 1 minute and 45 seconds in zone 1. And then for those recovery periods, I walked the first kind of 30 seconds or so just to bring the heart rate back in range, and then slowly jogged to keep the legs ticking over. I really enjoyed this workout. Although the first 45-second interval was hard, they're so short that they're over before you really feel it, and then you've got nearly 2 minutes to get ready for the next one, which is perfect. And I think that's key to a lot of interval work. Make sure you recover in the rest periods fully so that you're ready to take on the next interval with everything. I mean, a trap that I used to fall into with intervals was to run the rest period a little bit too hard, so my body wasn't quite recovered, and then not quite hit the interval as hard as I should have been, and therefore not getting the maximum benefit from the workout. 80-20 once again, recovery is the key. Saturday was another 35-minute recovery run, and Sunday's long run was just an hour and 10 minutes long. Sticking to the duration of these long runs is probably one of the hardest things about 80-20 for me. I really like my Sunday long run, and it's been difficult not wanting to add just a little bit more to them. Maybe just a couple of extra miles, but I've been really disciplined so far. This plan has enabled me to run further and clock up the miles quicker than in any other year of running. So far I'm trusting the plan and completely sticking to it, even when I feel like I could go a little bit further. Week 7, 38.9 miles, 5 hours and 7 minutes, 2,543 feet of elevation. This week started with a relatively tame session, but it was still a decent workout. This one is called a steady state run, and after a 10-minute warm-up you spend the next 30 minutes of the workout in Zone X, which sits just under your half marathon race pace, or a pace that you could sustain for about 2 hours. You don't spend a lot of time running in Zone X or on the 80-20 plan. This is a zone between Zone 2 or 3, which the authors say tends to be a bit of a grey area for training. It's too fast to get the maximum aerobic benefit, too slow to get any anaerobic benefit, but this session is designed to kind of build a bridge between the two zones, and it works on the ability to run far and to run fast without fatiguing. The legs felt pretty good after this session, and I was able to keep the pace going pretty consistently. Wednesday and Thursday's runs were 40-minute recovery runs, and then on this week actually I started to explore some other routes around my commute to see if I could cut out a bit of elevation on these recovery runs. I was finding the two pretty big climbs on my usual route pretty challenging to stay in Zone 2 and just enjoy the flow of Zone 2 running. So instead of going up the river to get home, I'm travelling a bit further down the river, running along some of the floodplains before heading back up river, and then usually by the time I get up to the first big climb I'm finished with the run and I can use it as part of my cool down. I'm feeling better after the recovery run, so I think I'll stick to this plan for now. I'm not too worried about losing the elevation from my training. I get enough of that as it is around here. On Friday, this session was probably the most difficult of all the 80-20 training runs that I've done so far. Just in terms of its kind of the technical side of it, but in the way that you had to kind of execute it and kind of think about it yourself. It was called an acceleration run and was developed by French exercise physiologist Véronique Billet. I'm sorry about butchering that pronunciation. So an acceleration run is where you run at every pace between a jog and a full sprint. The first part was 11 minutes long, so you had 11 minutes to get from a jog to a full-on sprint. And it was pretty tricky because you have to judge really carefully how fast you're going throughout those 11 minutes, so that right at the end you're running as fast as you can, and you're not going too fast too soon before the end, and then running out of gears and running out of puff. But I think I just about managed to pull it off okay. After the first 11-minute acceleration, you've then got I think it was a 10-minute rest and then a final 3-minute acceleration period. So again, going from jog to full-on sprint, but now just in the space of 3 minutes. It was a really interesting workout, and I enjoyed the feeling of changing gears, just slowly building up until you're flat out. But yeah, I've never done that before. It was interesting. Saturday was another 40-minute recovery run, and then taking a departure from the usual Zone 2 long run, on Sunday I ran a session called the Half Marathon Pace Run. Unlike most of the workouts in the 80-20 plan, this one is distance-based rather than time-based. So you had a 2-kilometre warm-up followed by 3 sets of 3 kilometres at half marathon race pace with 100 metres of walking between each interval. It was a really interesting session. It felt good to be running at race pace. It was a real confidence boost to know that my heart rate could stay in the right zone for the duration of those intervals. I had to have a good think about which shoes to wear. I'll likely be racing in the Nike Alphafly, so I thought about taking them with me, but then I've also just picked up a pair of Brooks Glycerin 19s, a new daily trainer, and I wanted to see how they felt at a decent pace and ready for the review in a couple of weeks' time. So it was good to know that I could maintain that pace for those intervals in a shoe that isn't carbon plated. Week 8, 43.61 miles, 5 hours and 47 minutes, 3,583 feet of elevation. On to the final week then, and we're starting with something called over-under intervals. Although I think they should call them under-over intervals, as the workout is structured in a 3x3x3 fashion, with 3 minutes in zone 3 to begin with, which is under lactate threshold, and then another 3 minutes in zone Y, which is over lactate threshold. Then you get 3 minutes rest in zone 1 before repeating the whole thing twice more. This was quite a challenging session. Top end of race pace to above race pace is a hard switch to hit when the interval was like 3 minutes long for each one. It was a tough going session, but I enjoyed it. Wednesday and Thursday's recovery runs were 45 minutes long. Again, up and down the river, but this time in glorious sunshine. The butterflies were out, daffodils and primroses everywhere. It's been a really beautiful week up on the moors. And running easy, soaking it all in, has just been brilliant. Friday's session was another tough but interestingly structured workout. This one is called a variable intensity intervals run and consists of 4 back-to-back efforts of 30 seconds flat out and then 45 seconds at the top end of zone 3. After those 4 chunks together, so like was it 30 seconds and 45, then 30 seconds and 45, then 30 seconds and 45 seconds, I think I said that 4 times, you then get a 2.5 minute rest before repeating the whole thing twice more. By the third all-out sprint, you're absolutely blowing, and then getting that gear change just right from maximal aerobic speed to lactate threshold pace was pretty tough. Every fibre in my legs was just begging me to go a little bit slower. Needless to say, I was quite glad to put my feet up on Friday night and eat a couple of vegan hot cross buns. Saturday's session was another 45-minute foundation run. Considering the battering from the day before, everything seemed quite fine. The legs were feeling good, nice and light and quick. And then Sunday's long run was 1 hour and 40 minutes long. The longest run to date in this plan and my favourite of the entire training block by far. The sun was out, there were lambs bouncing around in the fields, and I was able to complete a half marathon in zone 2 in 1 hour and 40 minutes, all without breaking much of a sweat and with a fair bit of elevation thrown in as well. If I needed any proof that the 80-20 method was working, this was it, and once again, it was a real confidence boost that I'll be able to run the distance at race pace and achieve my goal. Perfect. I think it can be quite tough starting the 80-20 plan and sticking with the plan and making sure you don't run more than you should, sticking to the zones and all of that, but I'm definitely starting to see the benefits and the positive impact on my running. My weekly mileage has gone up, but I don't feel like I'm putting my body through the ringer to achieve it. I'm hitting the targets in my speed sessions because my legs are well rested and recovered from the recovery runs and the slower paced zone 2 sessions. I now feel confident that in the future I could probably up the mileage even more and maybe just maybe train with a few 100-mile weeks thrown into the mix as well. It's week 8, I'm over halfway through the plan, but I'm feeling really positive about my training, that the progress that I'm making and how this could evolve over the years. Now then, time for a race update. In my last video I told you that my goal race, the London Landmarks Half Marathon, had been pushed to August the 1st, which meant I no longer had a race to aim for at the end of this block. I have booked another local race, which is the weekend after my training block finishes, so I have a little conundrum ahead of me. I either need to extend the taper period of the plan a week, probably by repeating one of the final weeks of the plan, or I could plan a local fast, flat route to me, race the half marathon solo, and then the following weekend race the one that I have booked, which is a 16-mile trail race with an estuary crossing along the South Devon coast. On the one hand, I want to run fast and flat and see what I can do in terms of beating my 1:26 half marathon PB, or perhaps on the other hand then maybe I should save the legs for a proper race where the time won't be so pretty, but where I might have a chance of placing in the top 3. So I really need your help, really. Help me out. What do you think I should do? Let me know down in the comments. I hope your training is going well, and if you've been out there racing again or you've got a race coming up soon, I hope they go well for you and you're taking a moment to soak in that race atmosphere. It's been just great to see people's photos appearing on social media, and I can't wait to be heading to my first proper race in 8 weeks' time. The countdown's on. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, be the best you.